News broadcasting system from right here in Orange County, California. I wanted to lead off today with a project that's going on in a border crisis hearing, and it's in Whitewater, Wisconsin, with Senator Jensen, and Congressman Matt Gaetz was asking some pretty intense questions and definitely setting up with the committee to address this particular panel with the problems that they seem to be suffering from, thousands or 1,000 or more immigrants being dumped in their city and not having all of the resources to deal with it. And part of what was exposed in that hearing was that the Democrats were blocking a Senate bill to return the children to their families. The whistleblower at HHS, who's a supervisor, or who addressed their supervisor, and was told that they're not investigating us for releasing people, they're investigating us for detaining people. Do you get the message? That type of conversation. The report that employee brought forward showed that there were thousands of addresses, or there were thousands of people using the same address, and that there were false addresses in the process of these investigations, and that supervisor did not want to take any action. So the whistleblower moved forward and brought that information to the panel, apparently, and to those members of the panel, so that it could be made public. And it's pretty intense with regard to the level of the violation of law, but mostly that kids are suddenly lost to the system, to traffickers and cartels and people that are taking advantage of these kids. You don't lose track of 250,000 kids, 300,000 kids, unless you're a criminal nation. And that is pretty much the opinion that I have of the people that are running this nation now, from bottom to top. The supervisors that we have to deal with in government are not answering to the people, and they certainly aren't answering the rule of law. This second tier that needs to be removed so badly with this election is fighting not to be taken down lightly. So we can expect just about any type of event to take place that would interrupt the election, or interrupt the count, or interrupt the vote itself, to include machines that suddenly go down, or other events with the interruption of a dozen different things that could only be added up to be watchful of terrorist activity. That 1.9 million known got-away terrorists, we have captured some of those people on the watch list. That watch list is and represents the people that we have captured. Of those that have got away, we find the backpacks out in the border crossing areas with abandoned IDs, and sometimes plans or pictures or maps of our different power locations, maybe different locations where there are utilities, to the extent that our vigilance as individual citizens to report back people that are scoping out our power plants or our natural gas facilities should be something that you report immediately if you see that suspicious activity. The chief of the Border Patrol has said that they are overwhelmed at the border. That is an understatement when you see that there are waves of people coming through the fence. The criminal element in Wisconsin had a Venezuelan gang member rape, murder, assault charges, and committed crimes in Wisconsin. Could have been arrested anywhere along the way, but because of the Biden administration's lawlessness in their conduct, these people have been released into the communities, and Wisconsin's had just about enough. They're ready to call it a day. And this hearing, they wanted to bring this forward so that the United States would know that this small town has had more than its share of immigrants, but more than its share of parents dealing with the death of their children, and basically the government taking no action ICE can't be brought in to arrest these people and remove them. So what do we do next? Republicans are trying to fix the situation with Democrats blocking the sanctuary city laws that we want to prevent as basically a violation of law. And again, we have Republicans voting as rhinos with the Democrats to accomplish that goal. In other headline news, Ted Cruz, and go to tedcruz.org if you want to look it up, is being outspent by Chuck Schumer in the millions of dollars in Texas. We need to support Ted Cruz in Texas, ladies and gentlemen. As a Republican, you've seen this guy fight like nobody else. He and Matt Gaetz have led the charge, and they're vocal, they're out front, and if that doesn't make you a target, nothing will. So when somebody comes to try to defeat you in an election, and they're going to spend millions of dollars, if you can afford to send even $5 to Ted Cruz, go to tedcruz.org and make that contribution to ensure that Texas keeps Ted Cruz in place. That's at least this reporter's opinion. The headline news that we're going to deal with next is that Harvey Weinstein was recharged with a new case to be heard together next year. Apparently someone else brought another charge. The judge decided we're not going to have two trials, so they've decided that it's going to take them a year to put this together, and Harvey's going to be cooling his jets just a little longer. Ladies and gentlemen, there's another broadcasting system that's out there, and a person that does a very good job. Her name is Natalie Winters, and I want to give her credit for this because the stuff that she uncovers is sometimes in the vein of the kind of things that I used to do when I worked at a headquarters, and I would read very complicated, detailed documents on base recovery plans or initial recovery after attack plans. They have to be pretty detailed. And if somebody just changes the language a little bit, it may change the way the entire operation has to pass inspection, has to gear up with war readiness materials, and things like that. And what Natalie discovered in this round was a reissued Department of Defense Directive 5240.01. That's 5240.01. The language change was on the revision of civilian and military code, and it was a lethalization issue regarding assassination. It was written in 2020 and then revised in 2024, in about September through October of 2024. The only person that attacked basically the report that Natalie put forward was a subcontractor to the U.S. government and a University of Washington instructor that is using government taxpayer dollars to fund a report that came back and basically tried to poo-poo the language change. Her name is Kate Starbird, and she needs to be removed from that school, and that subcontractor needs to be checked out a little bit more thoroughly, I think. The situation reads that in the 2020 version of the Department of Defense directive reads that under no circumstance shall any DoD component or DoD employee engage in or conspire to engage in assassination. So now let's read what the directive changed to in 2024. No DoD civilian, employee, or member of the armed forces will engage in or conspire to engage in assassination. Okay, first blush, that sounds right. What was missing? The item that was missing, according to Natalie Winters, was that there was a significant difference in the fact that the term no circumstance was removed and that the term DoD components were removed. So when Natalie broke this story, you have to stop and think for a second. So does that mean that there may be some circumstances and some DoD components that are allowed to plan, initiate, discover, talk about, assassination, that's the bottom line. And the biggest fear that you have to keep in mind when you look at this is that this may also have major implications to do with lethal force towards Americans. We have seen enough situations in the United States where lethal force was used against American citizens by the FBI that you shouldn't give them any more room than they have already, especially in the atmosphere that we currently have in the United States. So with that, we're going to move right along to Marjorie Taylor Greene, one of my favorite people. Marjorie, keep speaking up, because if you don't think that we are not seriously informed, but equally as entertained at the fact that you are not afraid to absolutely fang somebody to the bone, think again. It is truth to power. We really appreciate the perspective. It is as good as Donald Trump, and it is as pointed as Jim Johnson, and any of the other people that are trying to bring the light into the Capitol building. So Marjorie, keep up the good work. On October the 23rd, Wednesday in Duluth, Georgia, Brad Raffensperger of Georgia did not fix the Dominion machines, and a judge in Fulton County refused to allow a hand count of the votes. Now, what judge in his right mind would say, no, we're not going to have a count of the votes, we're not going to double check the machines? After you've seen 2,000 mules, you know what type of activity took place when the Russians and the Chinese started hacking their way in to machines that weren't supposed to have access to the internet. Now, why do you think that a judge would stop a law being passed by the people's representatives to count the ballots against the machines to be sure that they were accurate? There is no excuse for that. As far as I'm concerned, it's reason to impeach the judge on contact. There is a certain level of common sense that you either practice or you don't. And when it's apparent that there is going to be the absence of common sense, then we have every right to remove that judge. A law is a law, but it is the intent of the law that should be carried forward. And if the intent is to bring honesty to the election system, then you need to be challenged and you need to be held responsible. Josh McCoon of the Georgia GOP is fighting for election security, and so far Georgia's still got record turnouts despite some of the hurricane trouble that they've had, and he is holding the fort the best that he can. Again, I'm going to refer back to Natalie Winters in one of her reports where Speaker Johnson was involved, and their observations about Liz Cheney and somebody named Cassidy Hutchinson, who committed perjury on January 6th on the committee. That is something that I want to dive a little bit deeper into when we come back from the commercial break. The issue being one that since Cassidy Hutchinson committed that perjury, and since Peter Navarro went to jail, and since our best friend at the War Room, Steve Bannon, went to jail, we know that January 6th was an absolute fraudulent trial of situations that was never intended to have a positive outcome. We're going to talk about Speaker Johnson's remarks and comments after we return from this break. My name is Bill Jensen. You're in the strike zone, Speaker Johnson. This is VBS News. Ladies and gentlemen, VBS Television Network is pleased to announce a new and exciting English language daily live news program which will commence on November the 1st, 2024, if not sooner. The programs will broadcast live each weekday, Monday through Friday, at prime time from 6 p.m. to midnight from VBS Studios located in Orange County, California. VBS broadcasts through 12 connected digital systems: YouTube, Facebook, Roku, Apple TV, Android TV, Amazon TV, Sony Smart TV, LG Smart TV, Samsung Smart TV, Google Play, Apple Store, and VBSTelevision.com. VBS also broadcasts throughout the entire state of California through 3 free-to-air channels, including KJLA 57.6 in Southern California, KSCZ 16.14 in San Jose, and KMMC 30.6 in San Francisco. VBS broadcasts 24 hours a day and 7 days a week. We look forward to bringing you important, timely news coverage and commentary regarding politics, business, culture, and religion on a local basis here in Orange County, statewide in California, nationally throughout the United States, and also internationally, especially with respect to Vietnam and Southeast Asia. Please join in and have a wonderful time with us.
Nhiều gia đình ta đến Mỹ chỉ vì lý do để được lắng nghe. Đến từ các nơi tiếng nói bị đàn áp hoặc tệ hơn, nơi lên tiếng là rất nguy hiểm. Nhưng nơi đây, quyền bầu cử, quyền lên tiếng là không thể xâm phạm.
The beauty of a democracy is each of us has the power.
Nhưng hiện tại Donald Trump và JD Vance đang cố bịt miệng tiếng nói khắp đất nước. Cuộc bầu cử này, tương lai nền dân chủ của ta đang gặp nguy hiểm. Hãy lên tiếng, hãy bỏ phiếu cho Kamala Harris.
The middle class is where I come from. My mother expected us to make the most of the opportunities that were available because opportunity is not available to everyone. That's why we will create an opportunity economy where everyone has the chance to succeed. And as president, I will lower the cost of health care and housing and groceries. Building a strong middle class will be a defining goal of my presidency.
Michelle Steele ủng hộ chính sách thuế của Tổng thống Trump. Derek Trần chống Tổng thống Trump giảm thuế cho giới tiểu thương. Michelle Steele ủng hộ ông Trump đánh thuế vào hàng Trung Quốc. Derek Trần không ủng hộ ông Trump đánh thuế vào hàng China. Michelle Steele ủng hộ thụ thai nhân tạo để giúp phụ nữ sinh con. Derek Trần ủng hộ phá thai tùy tiện và không giới hạn. Tái tín nhiệm dân biểu Michelle Steele để nước Mỹ vĩ đại trở lại.
I am Michelle Steele, candidate for Congress, and I approve this message.
Được phục vụ trong quân đội là niềm tự hào.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is the Strike Zone. My name is Bill Jensen, and you're watching VBS Broadcasting Systems. And we're going to go back into a report that was given by Natalie Winters. And she had basically covered some issues with the January 6th committee. As big of a joke as that was, basically handpicked by Nancy Pelosi and to do nothing more than try to go after Donald Trump. Ultimately, it was what you hear referred to as the January Sixers that put a bunch of people in jail without being arraigned, without being set for bail or charged even. They're still sitting in jail 3.5 years later. And in the course of that, Natalie reported that Speaker Johnson had issued a very weak, to put it in her names, a very weak damn text message with Nancy Pelosi regarding the situation that took place on January 6th, that took place on the January 6th committee with Cassidy Hutchinson committing perjury. And rather pointedly, Natalie, and we seriously appreciate the level of intellect you bring to this fight. And she said, how about this, Speaker Johnson? How about you start sending out subpoenas to all these people the same way that they did to us? You should be setting up new committees. And these people should be facing the same fire and fury the same way Peter Navarro and Steve Bannon did. Well, I'd like to add to that a little bit with regard to the fact that not only should we be sending out subpoenas and setting up committees, but somebody should be seeing to it that that fraudulent committee that ultimately tried to lay the groundwork for other January 6th people that are in jail uncharged and still rotting in prisons should be released. And any judge that stands in the way of those releases delays them 1 minute. Each one of those judges should be tried. Each one of them should be subpoenaed. Each one of them should be challenged on their oath that they took to defend this country from enemies both foreign and domestic. And if they participated in anything, organized or otherwise, or took it upon themselves just to ignore that oath that they took that when they were sworn into office, then that oath should be what takes them to the dirt. And they should serve the same jail time times 3. If they put you in jail for 3 years, then they should do 9. They put you in jail for 5 years, they should do 15. Don't even talk to me about early release. These people are committing treason at a level and in a way we've never seen before. Natalie said it's about damn time that we started making examples out of these people who are just selling out this country for whatever it's worth, politically or otherwise. Natalie, I couldn't agree with you more. These people took an oath. Every one of them, all of us that were elected officials, took an oath. I take that oath seriously as I took it in the military. Having taken it in the military and in the civilian world, I take it doubly serious. And when I see these kind of things happen, as far as I'm concerned, it's 1776 all over again. We're fighting something that is as evil as the British Empire was at that time against America. Only this time it's infiltrated our shores. It's allowing the invasion of our southern border. And it has other things that I'm going to bring to light here shortly that are probably the thing that I fear the most, having a background in nuclear, biological, and chemical defensive warfare, and especially in this particular instance, the biological effect. Natalie said that Mike Johnson is a glaring example of what's wrong with our system, and I couldn't agree more, because when you look at who should have had that seat, that couldn't get the 1 or 2 votes because of a couple of rhinos, they should have been ejected out of the Republican seats. But you couldn't afford to do that, or you would have tilted the balance of power to the Democrats. But boy, I tell you what, I'd have liked to tarred and feathered and sent those guys out of town on a rail. What they did to rob us of the speaker that should have been in place, this is the end result of what you get, is Speaker Johnson. And I understand we're playing chess, we're not playing checkers, but somebody's feet need to be held to the fire. I would say that as a second-degree Mason, we may want to take a close look at the reasons for cause and effect. And if you dig deeply there, you have no other place but to lay the blame. Additionally, and in other news here, Steve Bannon is being held unlawfully because of Judge Nichols. There's another judge that needs to be thrown from the bench. Steve Bannon is entitled to use something called the First Step Act. And Judge Nichols denied Bannon's release from jail using that act, which he's entitled to. He's not a murderer, he's not a rapist, he's not an illegal alien gone amok. This is a U.S. citizen being politically held by some BS subpoena from the January 6th dummy committee, and he's serving time. And so did Peter Navarro. Each one of those guys, as soon as the Republicans took power, should have unwound all of those subpoenas and the threats of anything for not showing up for a subpoena. Why would you show up for a false or fake committee? You wouldn't, and they didn't. And they're the president's advisors. If anybody is immune from having to testify about anything, they are those people that are protected under the president's umbrella. Your attorney doesn't have to turn state's evidence against you, and neither did these two guys. They didn't have to come in and tell anything about their private conversations with the president of the United States. It was their job to advise the president. And if you want to undermine that, then you're going to undermine the United States and the way it operates. So, Judge Nichols, say goodbye, because anything that we can do to help vote you out of that office, remove you, impeach you, they're going to have my vote. In the course of this, what the intent is to silence Steve Bannon as long as they can, and silencing that political voice by detaining him for an extra 30 days right into this election means that if he sees daylight on the 29th of this month, it'll only be days before the election. So the Democrats think they've silenced somebody who, in the war room, has a very big following in the United States. And the only thing I think that they've really done is infuriated the base to an even greater degree that says, if you're going to lock up Steve Bannon and Peter Navarro, these are the president's special advisors, then I'll tell you what, to all the United States citizens that are listening to this message, you're next. You're next. As soon as you cross any of these political people, you're next. So fix it, ladies and gentlemen. See that it gets fixed. Get out to vote. Vote for Donald Trump. And let these guys distribute the justice back to these rat bastards that deserve it. You need to make sure that we win this election. So do not sit home. Do not even believe for a minute that Trump's got in this vote in the bag. You need to fight like we're going to lose. And until we win and overwhelm the votes to the point that the Democrats can't cheat, steal votes, stuff ballot boxes, or the Chinese or the Russians, or the Democrats, for that reason, can jimmy rig these vote counting machines with more internet interference, or suddenly have truckloads of ballots burn in a truck in the parking lot somewhere so that they can't be counted. I mean, the level of shenanigans are criminal. But in this particular situation, I believe that the founding fathers intended that voting would prevent bloodshed. It was the intent to transfer power peacefully. And when those people steal the vote right now, well, you might as well be shooting somebody in the back in 1776, as far as I'm concerned. So that vote is very important. Take away my vote by letting some illegal alien vote? No, you're on my list of people to come and get. You need to be indicted. You need to be served. You need to do prison time. And I really do think, please, President Trump, if you hear this message, fear nothing. Tell these illegal aliens on camera, if you vote in our elections illegally, you will never, ever qualify for a green card to stay in this country under asylum, or stay in this country under any type of legal clause that would entitle you to be here. You are an automatic deport. If you vote, you get deported. It's automatic. We're coming to get you. We will find you eventually. We'll find your signature. We'll find your thumbprint. We'll find your DNA. But when we do, you're gone. You're going to be the first one on the plane or the bus out of the country, along with MS-13 and everybody else. So please, President Trump, do not be afraid. I don't know who gives you advice, but I think that in this election, the sooner that elected officials let the illegal aliens in this country that went to get a driver's license and were automatically registered to vote, the sooner that they hear the message that, oh man, if I vote, I'm going to get deported. I'm not voting. No, just sign here. You can vote. No, it won't be a problem. No. I might have a chance to stay in this country. I'm not going to break the law. I already heard President Trump say, if I vote, I'm going to get deported if I vote illegally, so I'm not going to do that. If that message gets out in Spanish, President Trump, I just about guarantee it ought to cut 30 to 50% of the illegal votes right out of the system, because some people have got at least one brain cell working, and that might be one of them they'd pay attention to. The Democratic machine will weaponize the FBI, the CIA, the police, the Sheriff's Department, the BLM, the forestry, the park rangers, the court system, the district attorney's office, the prison wardens, Santa Claus or the Easter Bunny, to come and get you if you cross them. Do you understand that, America? Your entire system has been weaponized to the degree that if you cross these people, you are on the list and they're going to come and get you. I don't care if it is the most minor infraction that it will suddenly be turned from misdemeanor to a felony, you're going to be on the list. And you have President Trump as evidence that that is just exactly how they operate, and anybody that's standing around him. The rhinos that want to hold on to power at any level of government, even to include voting, conspiring, and scheming with Democrats until they are Republicans in name only, rhinos, R-I-N-O, rhinos, are on this bandwagon to interfere with this election. And anything that we can do to overwhelm that vote only makes it more difficult for them. But in the meantime, if they think throwing you in jail and interrupting your political voice is a way to get there, then you can anticipate that's what's going to happen to you. I know this because I fight the same crap when I'm up against PACs that can spend unlimited amount of money, and Republican rhinos and associations and chambers whose memberships have no say in the vote when the money is handed out. So there are organizations that say, oh, we're going to take our political PAC money and we're going to take $8,000 and we're going to give it to the Republican Central Committee and let them make the decisions. Now, wait a minute. If I'm a member of that organization, shouldn't we decide who we want elected locally? Why are we giving this money to somebody else, especially a Republican Central Committee? Not all of them have had very good reputations across the country when you watch how this has worked, to including those governors who wouldn't allow capitals to be reopened when there were legislative people in the assemblies and the senates that wanted to recount the votes to ensure that the collegiate votes were sent forward properly to the United States Congress. So in that particular situation, when I tell you that we are all at some level suffering from this particular type of exposure, you need to take a look. If you're a member of an association giving away political money, did you have a say in the vote? When it went to the Republican Central Committee, did everybody in there really know the situation and have a vote, or was it the good old boys club? We're going to get into that, and I'm going to show you some truths you are not going to believe. But after what we've seen with President Trump, why would you be surprised it happens at a local level? Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Bill Jensen. You're in the strike zone, and this is VBS News Broadcasting System, a new conservative station. I appreciate you taking the time with us, and we'll be right back after this break. Ladies and gentlemen, VBS Television Network is pleased to announce a new and exciting English language daily live news program which will commence on November the 1st, 2024, if not sooner. The programs will broadcast live each weekday, Monday through Friday at prime time from 6 p.m. to midnight from VBS Studios located in Orange County, California. VBS broadcasts through 12 connected digital systems: YouTube, Facebook, Roku, Apple TV, Android TV, Amazon TV, Sony Smart TV, LG Smart TV, Samsung Smart TV, Google Play, Apple Store, and VBSTelevision.com. VBS also broadcasts throughout the entire state of California through 3 free-to-air channels, including KJLA 57.6 in Southern California, KSCZ 16.14 in San Jose, and KMMC 30.6 in San Francisco. VBS broadcasts 24 hours a day and 7 days a week. We look forward to bring you important, timely news coverage and commentary regarding politics, business, culture, and religion on a local basis here in Orange County, statewide in California, nationally throughout the United States, and also internationally, especially with respect to Vietnam and Southeast Asia. Please join in and have a wonderful time with us.
Được phục vụ trong quân đội là niềm tự hào lớn đối với luật sư Derek Trần. Sinh ra và lớn lên tại đây, nhưng ông luôn hãnh diện về nguồn gốc hiền nhân tị nạn cộng sản của gia đình ông. Tại Quốc hội, Ông sẽ tranh đấu để tăng ngân sách cho Đại học 45, bảo đảm an ninh công cộng, phát triển nền kinh tế, quyết tâm bảo vệ an sinh xã hội và Medicare, gác bỏ quan điểm chính trị riêng để phục vụ và phát triển đất nước. Xin quý đồng hương bầu cho luật sư Derek Trần vào chức vụ dân biểu liên bang Đại học 45. Xin cảm ơn quý đồng hương.
Michelle Steele ủng hộ chính sách giảm thuế của Tổng thống Trump. Derek Trần chống Tổng thống Trump giảm thuế cho giới tiểu thương. Michelle Steele ủng hộ ông Trump đánh thuế vào hàng Trung Quốc. Derek Trần không ủng hộ ông Trump đánh thuế vào hàng China. Michelle Steele ủng hộ thụ thai nhân tạo để giúp phụ nữ sinh con. Derek Trần ủng hộ phá thai tùy tiện và không giới hạn. Tái tín nhiệm dân biểu Michelle Steele để nước Mỹ vĩ đại trở lại.
I am Michelle Steele, candidate for Congress, and I approve this message.
Không muốn thấy tiền Social Security của mình bị trừ hàng tháng vì lệ phí Medicare. Asiva có một chương trình để quý vị không cần phải trả 174 đồng 70 cent mỗi tháng cho Medicare phần B. Gọi 1866 610 0655 để tham khảo.
Nhiều gia đình ta đến Mỹ chỉ vì lý do để được lắng nghe. Đến từ các nơi tiếng nói bị đàn áp hoặc tệ hơn, nơi lên tiếng là rất nguy hiểm. Nhưng nơi đây quyền bầu cử, quyền lên tiếng là không thể xâm phạm.
The beauty of a democracy is each of us has the power.
Nhưng hiện tại Donald Trump và JD Vance đang cố bịt miệng tiếng nói khắp đất nước. Cuộc bầu cử này, tương lai nền dân chủ của ta đang gặp nguy hiểm. Hãy lên tiếng, hãy bỏ phiếu cho Kamala Harris.
May mắn đêm nay tâm hồn tỏa sáng vui tươi. Hãy chia sẻ niềm vui nào, ôi vận may ngập tràn lên. Lucky you, lucky me, lucky everybody. Lucky me, lucky you, lucky me. I praise you.
The middle class is where I come from. My mother expected us to make the most of the opportunities that were available because opportunity is not available to everyone. That's why we will create an opportunity economy where everyone has the chance to succeed. And as president, I will lower the cost of health care and housing and groceries. Building a strong middle class will be a defining goal of my presidency.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. You're watching The Strike Zone. My name is Bill Jensen, and this is the VBS broadcasting system here in Orange County, California. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to pick back up with my rather intense focus on what should happen to some of these people that have committed the level of treason against the United States that they have, and along the way, so that when we take power on January the 20th of 2025, and the president is sworn in, I tend to agree with Natalie Winters when she says that we should open a criminal probe, and it should include Jack Smith and Jay Bratt and Fannie Willis from the DA's office and her attorney Nathan Wade. It should include Big Tish James from New York. It should include Judge Mershaw and Judge Engeron. These people have done everything that they can to undermine this country in a judicial fashion. It isn't bad enough we're being invaded at the border. It isn't bad enough that a sheriff can arrest a criminal, write the report that should get a gold star, pass the DA's office, and then if it doesn't die and the criminal isn't released at the DA level, it goes to the judge, and then the judge is trying to bend the situation out of shape in order to either let that person go or indict that person somehow, or instruct the jury to take different action. And ladies and gentlemen, I want to bring up something, because having been one of the larger Tea Party leaders back in 2008, 2010, 2012, when that whole rock and roll show happened, we used to teach those members about jury nullification, so that when you get your notice to appear for jury duty, everybody goes, oh, well, what can I do to get out of that? Don't do that, ladies and gentlemen. My name's Bill Jensen. I'm asking you for a favor. I want you to imagine that you had to go to jury duty one day and that I got to be on your jury. I didn't stay home that day. I didn't call in sick. I went down there. I went down there to be on that jury because I knew that one of my fellow citizens would be up against this kind of a corrupt government. And I am not going to let a bunch of libtards sit on that jury and send you to jail. This is what we used to teach everybody. That jury was created by our founding fathers to ensure your freedom and to take you out of the teeth of a really bad government. So when you have a situation where a bad apple set you up with a sting and a DA was going to make a name for himself by carrying your case and convicting you, and a judge was going to instruct the jury to hang you, and the whole time, maybe it wasn't even your fault. Maybe you were set up. Who's going to save you from the system then? A jury. If you get a chance to plead your case to a jury, that jury gets to decide your fate. And now comes the judicial interference. As the judge instructs the jury that you will do this and you will do that. You will do this, but you will not do that. I am telling you, this is how you rule. You'll ignore that evidence. You'll only hear this evidence. When that happens to you, you're sitting there going, wait a minute, that was really relevant. How can you tell the jury not to pay attention to that? So here's what we used to teach the jury. Did you know that you have a right as a juror and as a jury in whole to nullify anything that you were told? It's called jury nullification. And let me tell you how serious jury nullification is. If you're fortunate enough to pass the screening by both sides to be appointed to that jury, that you're not biased and that you're not going to be shameless and everything else, they'll ask you all kinds of questions to make sure that they get the jury member that they want so that you're tried by a member of your peers. If you're lucky enough to make that jury and the judge walks in and tells you, you will do this and you will do that and you will do this, you can sit right there, and as soon as the jury goes in, you can tell them, you know what, ladies and gentlemen, we have a right to nullify anything that we want to. And if we don't want to listen to this judge and we don't want to listen to certain evidence, but we want to listen to other evidence, we have a right to do whatever we want because we're the jury at the end of the day. Nobody has a right to tell us what you can or you can't do. So imagine the defense attorney steps out to the front and he says, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like you to know that my client is innocent, and that any instruction that you're given today by the judge, you have a right to nullify. You have a right to pronounce my client innocent if you so desire. Do you know that the attorney can be disbarred for giving you that instruction as a jury? The judge can take away his license to practice law. Really? Are you kidding me? An attorney cannot instruct, teach, or educate a jury about nullification, even if it's in the defense of his client? No, you cannot. Try it. So we used to teach the jury members in a mock situation that you have a right when you take that oath and you take that jury booth seat, that you have a right to listen to the evidence, make your own decision, and you don't have to listen to the judge's instructions. Could you be removed from the jury? Yeah, if the trial is rigged that bad, you could be. But by the time you look up the definition and educate the rest of the jury members as to what jury nullification is, you'll find out how powerful it is and why judges don't want attorneys instructing the jury or educating the jury in the 11th hour. Ladies and gentlemen, I'll bring you more of that, I promise. But on January the 20th, if criminal probes were opened into Jack Smith and Jay Bratt and Fannie Willis and Nathan Wade and Big Tish James and Judge Mershaw and Judge Ingron, then why not continue to open the probes into Crossfire Hurricane, the Russia probe, and all those 50 or more intelligence officers that claimed that this was a true and valid situation and that the Hunter Biden laptop was just Russian misinformation, whatever they signed up to. Somebody needs to find out who orchestrated that, how they got their signatures, and how many of those people are wishing they'd never signed that stupid piece of paper. The Hunter Biden laptop, the China-Russia situation, with those CIA 51 officials that signed up for that, somebody needs to find out how that was orchestrated. Trump released and was moving to release the Crossfire Hurricane documents, and according to Natalie Winters, that's what triggered the Mar-a-Lago raid, and they got those records back. So let's give Trump a chance to release those documents again, wouldn't you say? I'd like to see what was in those documents, because they sure wanted something out of that house pretty bad to do that. The left-wing radicals tried 4 indictments to put Trump in prison. They tried to bankrupt him. They underfunded the Secret Service to set up an assassination. There's no other way to think about it. Cheatley, in front of that congressional hearing, the head of the Secret Service at the time, she was either the biggest patsy for not being able to answer practically any of the questions, or she was complicit. There's no two ways about it. Either you knew about this happening and you let it happen, or somebody ran an operation and kept you ignorant all the way through. I don't know which one you want to claim, but at the end of the day, you underfunded this man. You did not have the right people on that team. They were not being predators going out into the environment and looking for the enemy. You let this happen. And then Joe Biden just happens to have another event close by and saps some more of the resources. No, that's what you call setup. Nothing to look at here, folks. Keep moving. I would venture to say, after everything that we'd seen, the American people are just a little bit more informed and maybe a little bit smarter than what people gave them credit for. So, America, keep gathering the small facts because they add up. When we look a little bit deeper into the situation with Fani Willis, we come to find out that $700,000 later, on her attorney and her trips and everything that she lied about to the judge in Fulton County, she's been caught. The case is now before the Georgia Court of Appeals, and which is most likely going to disqualify the DA's office, and then it'll be moved to another location and probably never be refiled. But for what she's done, not just the fraud and her boyfriend and the payroll, what she did and the way she executed and used her office to weaponize itself against a citizen, to that, I don't know, let's start at 10 years and see how that feels, Fani Willis. There's got to be some sort of law on the books for the kind of crime that you committed using your office under the color of law. You should be paying a penalty. Whatever Trump's sentence was that you were seeking, it should be multiplied by 3. How do you like that, Fani Willis? That should be your penalty. The situation with Natalie Winters reported on this too. Mike Davis, founder of the president of Article 3 Project, exposed the fact that this guy, the attorney, kept evidence and billing that proved that meetings happened at the White House, and that meeting with Nathan Wade, where he billed $4,000 twice in a row, exposed the situation and proved that this type of conspiracy under 18 USC section 241, Smith, Fani Willis, the New York Attorney General, Judge Merchan, and all of these people colluded and conspired and used indictments to try to predict an outcome. And they pushed that through in such a way that the average person wouldn't have a chance. You would have been buried, and the first time the attorney said, I need a $50,000, $100,000 retainer, you would have been a victim of the system. If it wasn't for Trump's wealth, he would have never had the power to fight back. And now that people like the founder, Mike Davis of Article 3 Project, has their teeth into this. I'm hoping that they can really find a way to offer a certain amount of justice back to these people. Because that conspiracy goes deeper, and it should include the Hillary Clinton pay to play for millions of dollars from foreign governments, and that ongoing criminal conspiracy that took place from 2016 to present. You've seen so much go wrong in such a short period of time, 8 years, somewhere in that window, that so much was done and nobody was held accountable. Not one person has gone to jail for anything. When that justice comes back around, it needs to be delivered. It needs to be delivered swiftly. It needs to teach a lesson to everyone that is even contemplating doing it again. That it isn't going to pay because somebody has redirected this country back toward the rule of law. The issue with regard to the Duluth, Georgia situation, where Robert Kennedy Jr. spoke, said that Bill Gates had made a secret donation and got caught basically by using a 501c4, and where he tried to conceal about $50 million donation to the Harris campaign, and at the same time got indicted by the Netherlands for lying about COVID-19. I thought that was pretty good. Ladies and gentlemen, everybody loves the Kennedy family, regardless of what the situation might be. But Cherie Peoples, he pointed out, was under the Kamala Harris policy, lost her house and everything for her daughter's truancies because her daughter couldn't go to school. She was in the hospital. They still accused her of truancy. And ultimately, it cost this lady her wife, and in the course of fighting, cost her her home. And in the course of fighting for her child, she ultimately basically had to start all over again. Ladies and gentlemen, that particular turning point meeting, you have to see Tucker Carlson on that. Please look it up. That was one of Tucker Carlson's better speeches. I swear to God, he was so on point. Kennedy spoke, and so did Charlie Kirk. I wish you would please take a look at that, because I'll bring it up again at the next show. I'll do that. Ladies and gentlemen, my name's Bill Jensen. You're watching the Strike Zone, and this is VBS News Broadcasting System. Ladies and gentlemen, VBS Television Network is pleased to announce a new and exciting English language daily live news program which will commence on November the 1st, 2020.